Hi folks, this is just a quick message because I frankly do not know when I'm going to be able to get an episode out. For reasons that are far too complicated for me to go into at the moment, things have gotten particularly ugly at work. And unfortunately, I cannot rely on the union to protect me right now. So, I'm going to be possibly putting in an awful lot of hours that I shouldn't have to because the union rep has been bought off and the necessary steps to deal with, to reach out to the national union are beyond my abilities at this point because I just don't have the fucking time. Like I said, it's complicated. In theory, I'll have Sunday off and I'll be able to explain things then. I have no fucking idea if that's going to be the case or not. I will tell you that, here's what I'll tell you. So, I'm recording this. It is 1 a.m. Saturday morning, right? And Thursday night, they had us work, and we hit the 12-hour mark, and it's like, fuck you. Union contract says we ain't got to work past 12 hours if we don't want to. And they said, oh, no, that's not true at all. Union contract doesn't say anything about that, and we need you here. If you leave, it'll fall under the attendance policy, which means I'd accrue half a point. I was like, fuck it, I'm going home. I'll worry about this shit in the morning. Me and the other guy on days. And as we were in the locker room changing out of our gear, dude says, I ain't coming back. I don't blame him. He's fortunate enough. He's got a spouse who is a nurse. So, of course, she makes good money and is getting in an insane amount of hours because we're in the middle of a goddamn pandemic. He's also got a couple of young kids to take care of. So, his attitude is, fuck, family's more important than this shit. And he's completely right. I'm like, well, I told him, man, fuck you, you do what you got to do, man. I don't blame you a bit. But, so I'm working, tonight when I went in, or yesterday morning when I went in, I expected there to be some blowback. Well, sure enough, the union rep was like, oh, I never told you that. Yes, you did, motherfucker. You did tell me. But he denies it. I don't have audio of him telling me that, but I do have audio of him denying that he told me that. That's the nice thing about smartphones. You carry them, they're ubiquitous, and they have lots of recording capacity. So I'm going to start recording every day when I'm at work. As evidence. I don't know that I will end up taking legal action, but I do know that by recording everything, I will have the evidence in case I do decide to take legal action. So, since I realized this morning that union rep isn't backing me up, I'm not going to fight this right now. So I worked until they told me I could go home today. That was 17 hours. 17 hours, most of it physically demanding labor. And a lot of it was just done to punish me, I'm sure. So, good thing is that one of the guys I work with said, hey, I've got an electric bike I don't use. You want to buy it off of me? It needs to be fixed a little bit. It's got a couple of minor problems. I'm like, yeah, sure. What are you offering? So he's going to sell it to me for $180, which is cheaper than what you can buy one new, or even what you can buy the conversion kits to switch over a standard bicycle to electric. That will, if I have to find another job in a hurry, that will at least ensure I have transportation to get me there in a shorter period of time than what I'm used to. I mean, the old Razor scooter does get me there, kind of. It does get me where I'm going faster than walking, but not nearly as fast as a bicycle. And, well, because of the hours I'm putting in, I can't do certain things that I need to do, like better insoles in my shoes, or swapping out the wheels on the Razor scooter that are, the bearings have started to go. This is, one of those complications caused by poverty. You can't take the time off to fix the things that you need to fix because you got to keep working. So you end up buying shit that you don't really need because that's easier than fixing the stuff you got. That's convoluted and slightly wrong, but I'm tired, and I think you kind of get the gist, because I have to be at work at my usual time in the morning, because we're still going to be working overtime. I at least, thanks to the old GoFundMe, I at least have enough money to get my license and get insurance. I do not have enough money to get a car. And I can cover the bicycle easily enough. Whether or not I will use it, or whether or not I will let Tasha use it, I haven't made my mind up yet. It all depends on certain circumstances. Because she has a job now, for a little while at any rate. But it's complicated, and I'm tired, folks. But I'm putting this out here primarily just hoping that if you've got some spare cash, you'll flip it, whether it's $1 or $2 or $10 or whatever, to my GoFundMe, so I can get a car, so I can get a job where I can at least be sure I'm not putting in 17 fucking hours a day. And this shit we're doing is a nightmare with the damn turkeys. And it's all futile. For complicated reasons. Let me explain briefly why it's all futile. We have a USDA inspector who comes into the plant every morning. He has to check everything before we can do anything, make sure it's all clean and all that shit. And he doesn't stay on site all day. He has other plants he tours. One of them is a plant that also does turkeys like we do. According to him, our facility is not large enough to process the turkeys at the volume that we're supposed to be doing them. I'm not going to try and explain why right now. I'll do that some other time. So that means we're going to do a all this shit. They're going to do all this crazy crap for no reason. And I am 100% certain that management has realized they've bitten off more than they can chew. But because they're arrogant assholes, they can't admit they're wrong, so they're going to subject us to inhumane conditions and then blame us all when it all falls apart. And they will hope that corporate doesn't fire them over it. I don't know. That would be fucking awesome. But anyways, when I can get the episode out, I will. But I wanted all of you to know that I'm in a whole lot of pain and a whole lot of trouble. And regardless of if Tasha was living here or not, it would still be a bad situation. I mean, she's a drain on my finances, but even if she wasn't draining my finances, I still wouldn't be great, just because of things are. I mean, you know, you work 16 hours a day or 12 hours a day. You don't want to cook. You don't want to do the dishes. So you stop and eat somewhere. And if you're halfway smart, you don't stop and eat at McDonald's. You stop and eat at a halfway decent restaurant. So I've really got... I need a fucking car. That's what this plea is. I need a car. Because I'm too old for this shit, and even if I was in my 20s, nobody should have to do this shit to get a car. And it's pretty obvious to me that, because here's how things work. Anything after 12 hours is double time. Well, okay, if they can afford to pay you double time for anything, then obviously your straight time pay isn't high enough, because it's not cutting into the profit margins, because nobody should have to work so many hours. Hunter-gatherer societies, people only spend 4.5 hours a day doing the things to meet their basic needs. That's how humanity has spent their existence for the majority. So all of us who live in a civilized society, quotes around civilized, of course, who are putting in more than 4.5 hours a day, we're being fucked. And, you know, with all this shit going on, and, you know, let's say I was some young, hung, dumb guy who was in his 20s and didn't care, blah, 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 and was working all this shit. None of it would lead to me getting a promotion and making significantly more money in the near future. As an old fucker in his 50s, there's even less of a chance. So why do it? Well, because you're forced to scratch out a marginal living and you're desperate. Well, I am not so stupid as to be allowed, to fall for that shit. So I'm doing what I can, and I'm gonna get the fuck out of there. Now, in theory, there are, in this area, supposedly there are a couple of places who are paying, that are located within 3 miles of the house, that are paying approximately what I'm making now. They're non-union. And they're in desperate need of help. So, in theory, if I have to bail, I can get a job there, one of those places. Additionally, there is a grocery store that is closer than those places to my house that is also unionized, and it's the same union that I'm in. So, if I have to, I've got a couple of ins. The grocery store is desperate for help, and also I'm in the union, so I may be able to get that. It's not ideal if I do that without a car, simply just because the distance. I'm tired, folks. I'm sorry. It's really hard to explain. But there are avenues without a car that I can tread water. With a car, I can do better than treading water. So, y'all do what you gotta do. And I will do what I've got to do. Then I want to again thank everybody who's donated to the GoFundMe or who's a Patreon supporter of the podcast, because I'm in much better shape than I would be without either group. Because this shit should not be. Nobody should have to deal with what I'm dealing with, and that's nobody should have to work 17 hours a day at a physically demanding job, or even a mentally challenging job. You can't be productive after a certain point. Civilized societies like Sweden and Iceland recognize this, and they're capping things at 32 hours. So, when I have some time, there are things I'm going to do some deep dives on that are going to blow your fucking minds, folks. Okay. I'm tired. I've got to go to bed, so I'm going to end this now. I will put the link to the GoFundMe in the show notes. If you can contribute to that, I would love it. If you just want to become a Patreon supporter, that would work as well. And as soon as I can get that full episode out, I will. And there's going to be some pretty blistering episodes about capitalism coming once I get things sorted out and I have a rational work schedule.